Hi, this is Ann Trung, and I'm a physical therapist. I wanted to set out a presentation for all the coaches, parents, and athletes on what to look for in your basketball athletes to prevent injuries. So just giving you a little bit background about myself, my name is Ann Trung again, and I played high school and junior collegiate basketball. I've also coached high school after for about 2 years, and I then received my doctorate in physical therapy at University of the Pacific. I've been a physical therapist for 4 years and currently work for Competitive Edge Physical Therapy. I've completed numerous of courseworks with biomechanical evaluations, and that includes running as well as sports. So just give you a quick brief overview of what we do over at Competitive Edge Physical Therapy. Well, our goal is pretty much to help athletes improve performance, reduce injuries, and train smarter. We utilize state-of-the-art technology for human performance testing and training. What this actually means is that we use force plates on our treadmills, and we also have another force plate on our floor here, so then we can really slow down movement and see where the stress as you land go through your body. We also use these sensors so then we can see each joint throughout the body and see how you're landing, how you're accepting load, as well as how you're pushing off while running or cutting or jumping. So ultimately what we do is bring functional sports training and equipment to all athletes. Moving on what to look for, there's a combination of things that you want to look for. If you have more of these, then your athlete is more at risk and probably will benefit more at strength, some strength issues, or as well as some motor control issues. So as we go through the next 2 slides, please consider some of the things when looking at your athlete when they're performing during practice or games. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is about the knee control. So as you can take a look, this is when you're jumping. So as you can see in this picture right here, this is proper positioning for squatting and jumping. His butt is sit back and the knees are just right over that toe. So you can see as he lands right over that base of support there. In the second picture over here, on the bottom left picture, his knees actually pass his toes. So what that means to me is that his knees are going past. So if your athlete's having or complaining about any type of knee pain, oftentimes this is a provocative position for your kneecap joint, and you can cause a lot of stress around in this position. So if you're talking about a game and they're constantly jumping up and down in 2 legs with 1 leg and they're landing in this position, it decreases the shock absorption into the knees as well too. It puts a lot of pressure into the knees. Over here towards that right, we're looking at the knees coming in, and this is the incorrect way. The hip is in adduction, so it wants to go towards midline, and the knees are rotating inwards. So this is a provocative position for the knees once again, and it demonstrates poor hip stability. In the bottom pictures where the knees goes right over that second and third metatarsal, the knees are pointing straight. So this is in a better alignment where you need to be. So you want to look at this with jumping and cutting in double leg and in single leg position to see we're not collapsing inward like this, so in what we call a valgus collapse. So you can see in that picture there. Moving forward at looking at your trunk, knee, and pelvis control, what we want to see, so you can see in this picture right here on the top, as this boy is cutting over towards his left, you see his knee caving in, that knee valgus that we discussed earlier, and his trunk is actually leaning that direction towards that weight-bearing leg. So we want to make sure that his trunk goes straight towards the cut, and then that knee stays right over that second and third metatarsal again. So looking at this bottom picture, his knee is actually in better alignment, but you can see that compensation over at his trunk is really leaning towards that cut again. Where we want him to see is towards that line of force, right about here, towards that cut. So another thing that we want to look for in your athlete is what we call a pelvic drop. So this is when they're running as well as hopping on one leg. is when they put that weight and accept that weight onto the stance leg here, is that other hip dropping. So this side is dropping when this leg is stance. Oftentimes this can be cause for a weak glute. So if this glute on the right side is strong enough, this hip will then rise up to leveled pelvis. So once again, that's more for cutting, hopping on one leg, shooting for a layup, or even just running. If you constantly see this pelvic drop, you might want to address some of the issues there. So I want to give you an example in a video real quick of what we do. So you can see this person here making a cut and then moving over towards his left. So as he runs to the plate here, so you're going to see, so as he runs to the plate, we're looking at his right leg hitting that force plate here, and I'm going to stop. So you can see that knee caving in, and then his trunk going, leaning over towards his side and taking that cut. So we usually do a whole return to play test, and some of the things that we are looking for is that trunk, hip, and knee alignment. So he has these sensors to really help us and give us a bigger picture, a full picture of what he needs ultimately while he's playing the sport. Why is this important? Well, ultimately, like I said, my goal is to minimize the athlete's injury risk. Especially for basketball, it requires repetitive motions and it requires different planes of motions, and you're constantly doing this throughout the whole game. So we want to minimize any of that wears and tears throughout the body and really use more active structures such as your muscles versus passive structures such as your knee joint, ankle joint, hip joint, back. What this also means is that once we figure out and evaluate your athlete, we can really find where the deficits are and then strengthen them where their deficits are. And this ultimately will then maximize efficiency for basketball mechanics. Then also, this can also increase performance as they're playing. So if you have any other questions for me, or if you have any videos about a certain type of athlete, please feel free to contact me. My email is ann@compedgept.com. I am happy to look at any filming of your athlete. I can come and meet you for a presentation or just to talk and give you some insight about what we do, or just feel free to look at some of our blogs and videos over our website at www.compedgept.com. Thank you so much, and thanks for listening.